Good evening, class. My name is Mark Wangler, and tonight I'd like to talk to you about governments and big business relationships. Right off the bat, I'd like to talk to you about the, the fact that they can be good and they can be bad. Some of the good things that come out of it could be things like local schools um, or roadways that the government has encouraged a business or company to invest in or donate to. Some of the bad things could be that the government is less strict or has less regulations on a certain company and their disposal of waste products, whether it be trash, their use of electricity, or polluted water. Um, a lot of times people hear and see the bad things that come from this relationship and don't look into the situation to see that there are a lot of good things coming from this connection between the two. Now, when I say government, I mean all aspects and levels of government, all the way from the top as the national government or federal government of America to local towns and state governments, as well as international governments. A lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, are international and have to deal with an international government on a daily basis. International government policies are a lot different, or can be a lot different than the ones here in America. For obvious reasons, they might not be set up the same as ours. Other reasons is they might have different values than we do. They may cherish land, property, traditions differently than we do. So when working internationally or owning a business internationally, you need to be aware of these things. And a lot of times the policies internationally with international governments can't be changed or swayed. A lot of the times the company has to make the decision whether they're going to stay and deal with the regulations or restrictions that government places on them, or if they're just going to pick someplace else that has the same characteristics, such as marketing groups or who they're trying to sell with, a supply and demand type deal. A lot of times international governments will talk with the companies and say, if you provide us with a new school or a new source of fresh water, then we would be more relaxed on some of the restrictions or stipulations that the company might be facing to start with. And as long as the company comes through, then they can do business more along the way they want to, or at least have the freedoms that they're looking for in that country. The government policies affecting big businesses in general, whether it be international or local, goes all the way down to the employee. If you look at minimum wage, which is a federal issue, it's a very hot topic at the moment. That's allowing the employee to make more money to help support their family, and that's something the government enforces the company to do, so that they don't have much of a say in it. Obviously, there'll be fight back from the company because the more their employees make, the more they have to charge for things, the more money they have to spend. It's also things like healthcare, or even OSHA, which is a federal agency that monitors safety of their employees in any working condition. This is just a few of the policies that our government, along with others, come up with to enforce or impose on a corporation to allow them certain liberties, or to make sure that they're doing right by their employees and the society that they're embedded with. Big businesses swing government policy on all levels, from local to to national and international. Big businesses do this a lot with using lobbyists. These lobbyists go to Washington, D.C. or the capital of some sort, that when they're there, they speak or vote on the behalf of the company or in the company's best interest. These big corporations hire these lobbyists to do these things to make sure that big business or corporation's voice is heard. Now, obviously, if you're a smaller company, you're not going to have the money or the resources to have lobbyists down in Washington or in your state capital to make sure your voice is heard. So you, being a small business owner, would be more along the lines of just being knowledgeable of the policies that are coming out and using them to the best of your abilities or dealing with them. Now, when it comes to a local government, such as the town clerk or town mayor, there's still zoning that has to be done, in any town or city. There's zoning and other policies such as that you would have to or could talk, maybe vote, or sit in on a committee to make sure that your voice is heard and that it's in your best interest, or at least better for you than say a tax break that you're not getting because of a policy that was just implemented. Big businesses working internationally, like I said before, don't really sway the governments too much. They're more of okay, this is what we have to do, so this is what we'll do to make it, or we'll just pick someplace else that's just as good. Big businesses always obviously try and sway or affect a vote on policy because they're trying to make the most money while spending the least amount of money. They would rather pay their employees less so they pocket more, or they would like to find a cheaper way to dispose of garbage, whether it be just throw it out someplace or sell it to someone. Nowadays, especially since the 1970s, a lot of these companies are seeing that a lot of these restrictions, and not so much restrictions, but policies that the government's coming up with, especially when it comes to sustainability, such as turning lights off at the end of the day, or recycling their waste products better, that they're actually saving and making more money than they would if they were just to dispose of it. So lately, like I said, since the 1970s, these big corporations are seeing that more and more, the more they follow these guidelines, that they're actually making more money. Yes, obviously you're going to have your policies that don't save you as much money as you'd like, and may even cost you some money, but for the majority, they are for the better of the business and your employees and the societies around you. The relationship between both the government and the business isn't always bad. That's mostly what you see on TV or in the news, is that this big evil corporation is trying to sway the government to give them more rights or more liberties or more freedoms to do what they want, pollute rivers and lakes and tear down forests and what have you. In most situations, is not the case. They're more trying to, well, you're gonna get more out of it, I think, if you look at what's being provided by the company, such as, are they donating more to the local economy? Is there more donations to the local schools? Is the water being cleaned better because now they are there and they have to clean the water, so they might as well clean everybody's water? It's the things like that that need to be sought after and realize that this stuff is happening because these big corporations are making these political or policy um, decisions with the government. Also, look at the employees. Better paid employees or better working employees, and a higher wage, a higher minimum wage would make happy employees, and which in turn would make the company more profit. Beyond the local society perks, such as new roadways or a school or a football field or a new grocery store, there are the things that the employees themselves enjoy because of these relationships with the government. It's kind of a one-way road. The government doesn't see too much of a return, obviously taxes and all that stuff, but they don't really see an immediate return from this relationship. But as long as the people are happy with these corporations, then in turn people are happy with the government's happy, so in the long run the government is getting out of this relationship. But in the end, we need to realize that these relationships aren't always bad, and that there is way more to them than just this company wants to cut down all the forests, or this company wants to dump their sewage into the lake. It's much more than that, much more in depth. And if people take the time to actually look and understand what's going on, then we may help encourage it even at some point. So, thank you.